people signed
That
up.
there's people, yeah. Okay.
So, sorry.
Yeah.
Turn your mic off.
Okay, I'm so
Yeah.
used to like
No, you're,
not touching
yeah, on
it.
this one, and yeah, very sensitive
Okay.
too, so.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I think we're going to get started. Because welcome. Welcome on this beautiful morning of January 30th. My name is Shelley Heddleman. I'm the new chair of the Pension Subcommittee, and happy to be with everyone this morning. We are going to start with Senate Bill 270.
Madam Chair, if we could, we're waiting on the treasurer, so can we, he's en route,
Okay.
and he is.
Treasurers, with this trooper, he said they're about 8 minutes out, but
Well, we can go to the next. We could go to Senate Bill 200. Are folks here ready for that? Okay, come on up.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your indulgence.
All right. Well, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. For the record, my name is Rhonda Bell. I am Executive Director of the Maryland Supplemental Retirement Plans. I come before you today on behalf of our board chair, Eloise Foster, and the Board of Trustees with a position of strong support for Senate Bill 200. This will simply do some clarification and remove the word teachers from the title of the board and the agency, and we think this is important in letting state employees know that the supplemental retirement plans are for all state employees and not just teachers. Teachers historically is in our name, but the teachers in the boards of education actually do not participate in the supplemental plans by statute. They have the option, and they don't participate. So we hope you have a favorable report today. I apologize, I just rushed here and got out of my car, so I'm a little bit out of breath. But we certainly do appreciate Chair Gazzoni sponsoring this legislation, and we think it will be very helpful to our state employees. So thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? That was quick. Thank you very much. Okay. I think we are finished with Senate Bill 200, and let's go to Senate Bill 65. Senator Carrozza, welcome.
Should I use this one? Good morning. For the record, Senator Mary Beth Carrozza from Maryland's coast, and that's Worcester, Wycomico, and Somerset counties. Madam Chair and members of the Distinguished Pensions Subcommittee, I appreciate this opportunity to present Senate Bill 65. This narrowly focused bill would allow a former member of the local fire and police retirement system who is an active member of the state police retirement system and incurred a break in service to transfer his service from the local to the state police retirement system. I underscore there's no fiscal impact. Only one individual, Corporal Jason Dykes with the Maryland State Police, is eligible for SB 65, only one. This individual served for 10 years at a municipal police department, and during that time he contributed to the local system, the local fire and police retirement system, which no longer exists. The individual then served 1 year at a county sheriff's department, which is not under the state retirement system, before serving 19 years with the Maryland State Police, where he continues to contribute to the state police retirement system. The state retirement and pension system considers his service at the county law enforcement level to be a break in service. Therefore, the state retirement police pension service has denied the buyback option for almost a decade of service at the municipal police department. In 2005, when the individual was hired by the Maryland State Police, he was not informed that the county law enforcement service was considered a break in service, and he was not given information from the agencies about his option to buy back his municipal law enforcement service for the transfer of that service. In 2012, this law enforcement officer first looked into purchasing his municipal time to apply to the state police retirement system. So for over 12 years, this law enforcement officer has been attempting through non-legislative means to rectify the situation. He has worked with the staff from the state retirement and pension system. He's received representation from the Maryland Troopers Association. He's requested a hearing with the state retirement and pension system board and has appealed the hearing's decision. He was unable to personally present his appeal as he was attending the funeral of Corporal Glenn Hilliard, Wycomico County Sheriff's Office, a fallen law enforcement officer who was killed in the line of duty and who this committee supported with legislation in the past. His representative from the Maryland Troopers Association informed him at the time that the former comptroller, who was chair of the state retirement and pension system at the time, he advised pursuing a very narrow legislation to address this specific matter. Last year, the state retirement and pension system opposed this bill, and I understand that they opposed it again, and they noted that this bill would open the door to any individual who had more than a 30-day break in service between membership with state or local retirement or pension systems. That's their quote. However, if I'll point you to the fiscal note, the SRA is aware of one individual who is definitively eligible for the transfer of service under this bill, this narrow bill. Accordingly, the bill has limited applicability, so that's in your fiscal note. Even though another 30 active members of the local system may likewise be eligible, they must already be or become members of the state retirement police service after a break in service and request the transfer of credit before the bill's December 31st, 2024 termination date. That was from last year. This year's bill also would have the December 31st, 2025 termination date, again, limiting this bill to one individual. I would also like to address another point brought up in the state retirement's opposition testimony. It states that this committee has taken the position that legislation of this nature should demonstrate that some mistake by the state or the agency occurred that now needs to be remedied. The agency could find no evidence of any mistake or misinformation that was provided to the member by the state or the agency. I respectfully ask this subcommittee to consider that not providing information to this individual throughout the process contributed to my constituent's current predicament. In his follow-up letter to this committee after the hearing last year, Corporal Dykes, and it's a March 31st correspondence, should be in your file, my constituent states that the SRPS does not willingly provide information regarding the employee's rights and steps that they may take after being initially denied. My constituent was not was not informed throughout this over 12-year process of what his options could be. Virtually everything he learned through this process has been a result of his own due diligence. Virtually none of the information he has obtained about the initial ability to transfer a service and about the appeals process has been provided by either agency. As noted, and again, by SRA and in the fiscal note, only one law enforcement officer would be eligible for this transfer of service bill. And I ask this committee, and I plead with this committee, please consider how this individual has served Maryland honorably as a law enforcement professional for over 30 years and continues to do so today. In 2023, he was awarded the Superintendent's Citation, and he received the 2022 Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. He was previously nominated for Trooper of the Year in 2014 and in 2006, as well as being nominated for the 2006 Medal of Honor through the Maryland Chiefs of Police Association. He has served in numerous roles, from a road patrol officer to an officer on the Fugitive Warrant Unit, mounted patrol officer, a detective, an undercover narcotics investigator, and a current member of the Maryland State Police Digital Forensic Law. This law enforcement officer goes above and beyond the call of duty every day to help our community. He is an exemplary officer, and he often puts his own needs on hold to support others. Again, the fiscal note highlights that the legislation has no discernible effect on state pension liabilities or contribution rates, no effect on revenues. My constituent has been working for years with the state retirement and pension systems and others to resolve this situation. I am sponsoring the bill as I understand it would take legislation to address the transfer of service challenge that has been facing my constituent for the past several years. However, if this subcommittee, the SRA, believe that my constituent's situation could be resolved by non-legislative means, I respectfully would ask the SRA to move forward with an immediate and non-cost prohibitive option for my constituent. In the absence of a non-legislative solution to this law enforcement officer's transfer of service from the local to the state police retirement system, I respectfully request a favorable report on SB 65. And just in closing, when we have focused so much on the need for recruitment and retention, and this is a small matter that affects one police officer who has served us so well in the state of Maryland, this is a very narrowly bill to address that issue. I urge, I plead for this subcommittee to pass SB 65. The officer could not join us today because he is in court doing his duty on official Maryland State Police business. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Senator Bailey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Carrozza, for bringing this bill of this magnitude to us. I appreciate your persistence. I do think that it is important for this subcommittee to know that I actually had the privilege of working with Trooper Dykes. And when we actually worked together was shortly after he became a trooper, and he was undercover. And I do understand that during that time when he was undercover, right, when you come into a new agency and the way the state police took him in that role, there is a lot of times that personnel issues aren't as open as they are for the uniform personnel because of the fact you're undercover. You know, you do not go out there and parade your undercover officers around to everybody and take them to barracks and meet with personnel, right? Everything's done very quietly. So I see, after having run the undercover unit for natural resources for years, how there could be a problem that existed. And I just wanted to commend you for bringing this bill and we will look into see what we can do for Trooper Dykes.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Lewis-Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your passion for this individual and for his service. However, I do have two concerns. One is tailoring a bill for one particular situation. And the other is, I still don't understand how this could not open up a Pandora's box, because let's say you were a teacher and then you ran for county council or a state legislative position. That's a similar situation. So wouldn't that, there's been many cases of that happening. So wouldn't they, under the philosophy of this bill, have the same right, same argument to request that bridge or exception?
Which is why I kind of pointed to the fiscal note that this, again, this only affects the individuals who were in the local fire and police retirement system, which no longer exists. There's only 30-some that they would have to, and they haven't even done this, they would have to be go through that process of having that break-in service and then request the transfer of credit, which applies to none of them. So, you know, it really was looking at the fact that his service was consistent, local fire and police retirement system. So it was a consistency in his law enforcement service.
Yeah, I still think philosophically it's kind of the same issue, but thanks for your response.
Senator Salling.
Thank you. Just going through and knowing that situations do occur that our local fire and police systems and departments work together through situations that are very similar. And this being a rare situation, at any given time, this could happen again. And if we could have something in place that would benefit one person and the situation could come about, we could help this person as well. And this is just a local issue, right? Local issue in your area.
It's very narrow. It's right. Because this local fire and police retirement system no longer exists.
Right.
So there's only 30-some out there, right. But they're not in the same situation because they would have had to have the break-in service and apply for the transfer, and that is not the case. So that's why it applies to one individual.
There's one person and that's it. So,
yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gothrop?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. It's good to be back this session in front of you. My name is Ann Gothrop. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Maryland State Retirement System, and I'm here on behalf of the Board of Trustees for the system to oppose Senate Bill 65. Senator Carrozza already gave you a lot of my testimony, at least the beginning part. She explained what the bill did very well. And she mentioned that we are aware of only one individual who would satisfy the eligibility requirements provided under the bill, and that this individual had a break-in service of 18 months between their employment with the the local fire and police system and the state pension, or the state police retirement system. And that 18 months they were employed by by an employer who was not a participating employer in the system. She mentioned that last year and this year we're telling you that when these bills are brought before you, you always ask us, has there been a harm, by the employer or the state retirement agency? Did we give them bad information? Did they not get what they needed? We could find no evidence of that when we went through Mr. Dyke's files. To Senator Carrozza's point, that sometimes omission of information can be a problem for the member. The member's application has explicitly written on it that he signed for the state police retirement system. If you have previous service credit with a state system, please read the following transfer provisions and how they will apply to you and if they will apply to you. So he signed a document saying that he acknowledged everything that was in that application, including the information about how transfers work. So enacting Senate Bill 65 would not be correcting any errors, but instead it would be allowing a member to do something that no one else in the system is allowed to do. And Senator Croza is exactly right. The fiscal note says there is no discernible impact on the system. That is 100% true. It's still an increase that's resulting from providing an exception to the state's transfer provisions for one member when there's no indication that the member received any misinformation. In fact, they had the information at the time that they signed the application. In addition, all of our handbooks that these individuals have access to includes detailed information on transfer provisions. As a result, this bill will not only open the door to any number of members who also have a break in service of more than 30 days between their employment and would now like legislation that would allow them to transfer service, it will also open the door to any number of people in the system who would just like a special exception for themselves that the law currently doesn't provide. And Senator Louis-Jean, to your point, it would absolutely open Pandora's box. And yes, I know this bill is only talking about people who are in the local fire and police plan, who were moving to the state police plan. I have no way of knowing how many people are out there every year and don't apply to transfer service credit because they had more than a 30-day break in service. If this bill passes, you're inviting all of them to come in and ask for legislation and say, well, you know, I had more than a 30-day break in service, and what I do is as important as what Mr. Dykes does, and I would like an exception. I would like to be able to transfer my service credit now and have a waiver of this 30-day break in service. And so I believe if that were to happen, then the cost to the system would be much more than the de minimis impact that the fiscal note is currently saying it will have. So, and to your point also about special legislation and issue for one person, I really, I think your counsel can probably speak to the issues surrounding that better than I can, so I'll defer to him on that. So if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Gothrop? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. And we are finished with Senate Bill 65. Let us move to Senate Bill 270. Senator Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if I might, could we bring up the treasurer as well? Sure.
Welcome, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, members of the Pension Subcommittee, for the record, Senator Michael Jackson, District 27, on behalf of Senate Bill 270. This year, in the transition here in the Pension Subcommittee, during that transition phase, this particular bill, which was going to be brought back by me before this subcommittee, is now being led by the treasurer for the state. And so I am on the bill, will be on the bill, but the treasurer will be leading the legislation. So I just wanted to make sure we had that on the record. And if we could, have the treasurer lead, and then I will supplement.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. For the record, my name is Derek Davis. I'm the treasurer for the state of Maryland. It is an honor and a privilege to be here before you today. We have written testimony that we submitted that goes into great detail, so I don't, in the interest of time, I don't want to read through it all. There are a couple of points I want to highlight, but then spend just a minute or two as to why I'm here, why I believe this is necessary. So we'll say first, why the need for the policy change? Time and again, research shows that retirees are not adequately prepared for, I'm not going to do that. Look, this is why I'm here. and I learned it when I was chair of economic matters. And there was a bill that Senator Rosa Pep and then Delegate Bill Frick had for the Maryland Saves program. And in it, one of the things, and this was years ago, and I still recall it, Senator Rosa Pep said through his research when they were bringing that bill forward that less than 10 years before retirement, I forgot the number, it's like 80 or 90% of the folks had less than $10,000 saved for retirement. And that number was just jarring to me because, when we're thinking about retiring and so forth, we have everything planned out based upon, all right, this is my last salary, my 3 highest. You have all of that planned out. But what happens is quickly, through inflation and all these other things, what you thought you had based upon your pension would be enough, you very quickly find probably within 5 years or so that it's not enough. And so as part of that, again, a part of that bill, as I'm recalling, they started using terms like silver tsunami. We were going to have all of these older folks, all of these retirees that we had to figure out, we meaning the state, would have to figure out how to take care of. We have a very, I think, generous pension benefit plan. We certainly do the best that we can. I will also tell you this, in my conversations with the rating agencies, the Wall Street folks, we also get dinged with that because of the liability that, that the state has. And, that's from my standpoint, I'm not you guys, so I sit in a different seat, but I'm okay with that. We have people who work hard for this state in all sorts of capacities, like the one Senator Carrozza was just talking about, for example. And so we want to take care of our folks. But I bring that up to say, and again, that's a decision you all make on that side of the table, not this side. But from a financial standpoint, it's going to be a challenge to further increase that benefit. To further increase that benefit. And so my concern is that we all know the sort of story or whatever about the Walmart greeters and that kind of thing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Some, retirees, it's a job that if they want to make some extra money or just have something to do, that's fine. My concern is not because they want extra money or something to do, it's because they have to do it. And as Senator Benson and I, as the two oldest people in this room, as you get a little older, you start getting those aches and pains and so forth, and it's a little harder. Oh, I'm gonna pay for that. It's not always easy to say, I'm just gonna go get a job. You may not be physically able to it. Now, I know that our friends that asked me have had concerns, and I took my own advice from, when I sat where you sat, and we sat down and we discussed some things, and we're on the same page in terms of wanting to protect our state employees and their golden years and so forth. We just have a difference of opinion about how to go about it. I thank them for their willingness to sit down with me to talk through it. And we have a couple of amendments as a result of that conversation. I want to be clear, they did not tell me that would change their position on the bill, but nevertheless, I heard what they said and I thought it made sense. So I'll say these 3 things and I'll be done. Okay, thank you. This was, the First Amendment was something the House Appropriations Committee adopted, I want to say maybe around sine die last year or towards the end. The amendment preserves flexibility for certain higher education institutions that participate in the optional retirement plan. Under the amendment, those institutions could choose the default supplemental retirement plans for their employees. So that's what that one does. The second one, there was concern about how much money, like when they would enroll in these plans, because it wasn't defined, how much money would they be obligating themselves to per month if they were to be in it. So we offered as the maximum amount that they could be required to put in at $25. I think it's a per paycheck. Yeah, per paycheck, $25. Now, nobody's going to get rich off of that, and I'm not purporting any of this bill to do that, but we all know about rounding and compounding and all those kinds of things. You get in at, let's say, 22. What is that, $50 a month for 30 or 40 years? You may not be rich, but you'll have a bit of a nest egg to help supplement that pension, that Social Security, and things of that nature. And speaking of which, Social Security is an auto enrollment bill. And that's basically a holy grail now. You know, nobody on either side of the aisle messes with Social Security. But that was, Social Security is an auto enrollment bill, and it too was controversial. I think it was 1938 when it was implemented. And finally, the last amendment,
It's about the virtual or in-person counseling.
virtual in-person counseling. That was something else that we took from the conversation with ASME when they were talking about the need for training and counseling. We want to make sure that, you know, we know there are a lot of forms that are signed when you get hired, not as many as when you buy a house, but still there are a lot of forms you sign. But one of the things we want is for the employees to have a one-on-one or be part of a virtual training session. So all of, you know, these things can be explained to them, you know, about getting into the regular pension system, the supplemental, you know, target dates and all the stuff that would be helpful to them. Again, this is, and there is a provision for them to opt out. It's only for new employees hired after January 1, 2026, and they would have a 90-day period. If they go, this isn't for me, they could opt out and get all their contributions back. If it's after that time, they can opt not to have any further deductions. Now, the money would still be there, and it's still their money. And I want to emphasize that what we're talking about is not for the benefit of the state. These are for the employees. This is their money. And when if they're fortunate enough to see, you know, my age or whatever, that'll be there waiting for them. This is in no way for the benefit of the state. So I've said more than what I intended to, Madam Chair. I will be quiet. If there's any other, and certainly if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take them.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Senator Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Treasurer. Real quick question. On the 90 days, if I understood you correctly, you said that an employee would have 90 days to be able to determine whether they wanted to participate. And if they elected on the 89th day that they didn't want to participate, and you said they get their money back up until that point, do they then have to pay the penalty on that 89th day, or is that penalty waived for early withdrawal?
I would say the answer is no penalty. The way to look at it is like a free period, if you will. They would be automatically enrolled on day one, and they could basically try this out for 3 months. And if they go, nah, this isn't for me, they can withdraw out of the program, get all of their money back, no penalty.
Thank you, sir.
I have two questions. One is, how do they unwind? How easily or complex is it to say on that 89th day or whenever in that 90-day period that they don't want to participate?
Do you know? If not.
Hi, I'm Laura Addis, Deputy Treasurer for Public Policy. It's my understanding that, you know, the money comes out and is treated as taxable income. I would need to consult with MSRP as to what the actual process would be, but that's partly why the Treasurer wanted to put the amendment on the bill that requires the virtual or in-person counseling so that someone could better understand the options available under the plan and then the process for opting out if they want to get out.
Madam Chair, if I might.
Okay, Senator Jackson.
If I might, thank you. I appreciate the Treasurer bringing a piece of legislation before us. We've had this before us in this committee, and I think these amendments are another step in the direction. Even though this committee has passed it out and the Senate has passed it out, died on sine die in the House. However, I think you know, this is an opportunity for us to drill down to get those questions answered. The plan has agreed to, as mentioned by the treasurer, to ensure that for those 90 days, there is counseling available virtually and in person for each and every member to ensure that if they have any questions, that commitment was made last year. It's more defined now what that commitment looks like for those members. I think it's a step in the right direction. We will further define any questions or clarify any questions that we have here prior to our voting sessions.
And if I might, Madam Chair, we'll get you a written response, the committee a written response as to how that would play out for them to extract themselves from the program if they so choose.
Thank you. And likewise, how they would make investment decisions. And if they don't, I mean, kind of, if you can walk us through the actual process, that would be helpful
Yes, ma'am.
to understand. Thank you. Were there any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Tammy Bresnahan. Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Senate Budget Taxation Committee. My name is Tammy Bresnahan. I'm the Senior Director of Advocacy for AARP Maryland. And like the treasurer said, we worked on Maryland Saves, which has been very popular with our small businesses. You have my written testimony. I just want to, I have one correction. It's not 2024, it is 2025, so I apologize. It must have been in a fury. Last year, there was some comments about we didn't want to leave our state employees destitute. And I just want to make one comment. One of the most significant advantages of contributing to a 401k retirement plan is the immediate tax benefit it provides. By contributing pre-tax dollars, employees can reduce their current taxable income and consequently the amount they owe in income taxes. This reduction offers short-term savings while simultaneously building long-term financial security. For example, let's assume that an individual earns $35,000 annually and falls within the 25% tax bracket. If they contribute 6% of their salary, $2,100, into a tax-deferred 401k, their taxable income is reduced to $32,900. This $2,100 contribution can not only avoid immediate taxation, but also provides the benefit of compounding over time, potentially resulting in significant retirement savings, and the employee sees more in their take-home pay. And I think some of the problems that the opposition had last year is that we would be pulling money out, they wouldn't have enough money to live on, and we believe that even at the lower income, you can make significant progress on your retirement savings. It's a part of the three-legged stool: Social Security, pension, which a lot of people in this country don't have today. And AARP does have statistics that 1 in 10 Marylanders have less, at age 50, have less than $10,000 in savings. And you know that will go in 1 month if you have to go into an assisted living or a nursing home. So we ask you for a favorable report. We know that we won't have any problems getting it out of this, or we don't think we will, out of this committee because it did pass, but we ask for a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you. Joshua Freely.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you very much for having me. My name is Josh Freely, and I am Regional Vice President for State Government Relations at TIAA. TIAA was founded in 1918 by Andrew Carnegie to provide secure retirement for people in the higher education and nonprofit sectors. And we are still the largest provider of retirement services for those sectors. We manage about $30 billion in assets for 141,000 Marylanders. 2 years ago, TIAA released our Retirement Bill of Rights, which crystallizes the continued need to advance changes that will help more Americans save for a secure retirement. One way for employers to do that is through automatic enrollment. Studies show that you can drastically increase participation in retirement plans through automatic enrollment. TI would like to offer its unqualified support for this bill as amended. We think this is just really good public policy and a way to help people save for a more secure retirement, and I am happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in favor of this bill? No. Okay. Denise Gilmore. In opposition. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Pension Subcommittee. Denise Gilmore here, Legislative and Political Director for AFSCME Maryland. We represent 45,000 state, county, and municipal employees, and we are here in opposition to Senate Bill 270. Even though I'm nowhere near as charming as the treasurer, he was absolutely correct in saying that, we completely share the goal in ensuring that our state employees are taken care of in their retirement. In the 3 years that this bill has been introduced, we've had a lot of conversations with our membership on, both conversations, related to pension and the adequacy of the pension, but how we can help support, state employees in their retirement. No one has ever discussed wanting to have $25 automatically deducted out of their paycheck to make this happen. I just really want to continue to highlight that the employees, the folks who are most directly impacted by this, are unfavorable on this. They do not want to see an additional deduction, coming out of their paychecks. This is set to hit in 2026, at a time when we've just recently settled an agreement for, a 1% COLA with all of the rising prices. We absolutely are concerned that that starting salary in the state of $36,000, this is going to have an impact. This is going to leave state employees, considering which bills to pay. I mean, $25 may not be that much money to folks at the top of the scale, but to the folks that we represent, it absolutely is a significant amount. And so we appreciate that there's been some movement on amendments. We're happy to take a look at those. I don't think they address all of our concerns. What we consistently hear from our members is that they want more financial planning assistance. We were actually just in discussions with Cash Campaign yesterday. They've got the infrastructure to do this. We just agree with the approach. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Senator Salling.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming and testifying. So knowing that this states that it's automatically come out, do you know if they want, when they want to opt out, the time frame that they do have?
From my understanding, it's 90 days. I will say that's one of our concerns with the bill. This board that, again, we have no representation on, which makes us uneasy. That is one of our concerns that, is still unresolved, but the board also determines, so in addition to kind of determining the amount, the board also determines the opt-out process. From folks that we have spoken to who participate in the supplemental plan currently, it's not necessarily an easy process to access funds or, be able to transfer funds once you leave state service. Look, the reality is some of our members, the majority of our members do not have college degrees. These are concerns that we have. It's a complicated process, and we don't want folks to get stuck.
No, and I don't want that either. I want, maybe if people don't want to be a part of this process and they want to opt out, I think maybe my question didn't go about the right way, but what I'm trying to say is that, is there an easier way, or is there something that can be, you can talk about to the sponsor or the treasurer, saying maybe there's a better way that if they don't want to be a part of this process within a matter of a respectable time for the people and for their financing, that they could say, we want to opt out in this within the week or two or a month, so they don't have to wait for 90 days. Is there another way or option that you could work that out, possibly? And that's already in there, by the way. Isn't it?
I think there was a commitment to at least share with the committee. We'd be happy
Yeah.
if you're willing to share it with us to take a look at it. But I think there was a commitment from the treasurer's panel
Right.
to, provide the committee with what the process looks like. We'd love to
Just to
see
make it
that
easier
and
for
engage
people,
it.
so if they don't want to be part of it. If it's part of that, I think it's a help at the same time. So that's why I say that. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll look forward to getting that additional information. Senator Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Ms. Gilmore.
Good morning.
So look, I'll just, this is the third year we've been trying to work on ensuring that every employee in our state has an opportunity. I'll say this from our side of the table, meaning as legislators, we serve for 90 days, and we have the opportunity to do what we're trying to allow for folks who work every day in their jobs. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to hurt anyone. We will make any provisions that are necessary to ensure that everyone is educated about the process. I am a former labor leader as well, and I know when my folks walked through the door, including me, when I got hired, I signed up. We had a closed shop and so dollars were taken out of my paycheck. We do that as legislators. The key is we're literally offering more information than we got back then. More information than your employee, that your members get on their dues for their membership. I think this is an opportunity for us to move in the right direction to get on the same page regarding this matter. Accessibility, we've had that conversation, and I believe you all have had that conversation with the plan. And the Treasurer's Office, as well as I, am willing to sit down with you all to ensure that everything is explicitly clear to everyone, and then they can make that decision. But they have 90 days after they get on the agency or get hired to make a decision to opt out. And the commitment is that anyone who wants to get out will be able to get out of the plan. Lastly, I'll say about the board position, we've had this conversation for almost 2 years now, that there's a position that's available that anyone who is a part of the plan can apply to be on that board. We will be willing to support that effort as well. So I look forward to further conversations, Madam Chair. I won't belabor. This is the first hearing in this matter, so I look forward to having the conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Bailey.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I just want to follow up on my colleagues. We find often that the most difficult thing we have to do is protect people from themselves. And my question is the fact, with the 90-day provision that the treasurer has put in, that there's no fail, no must, they get all their money back and they're out, why would you and your members oppose this?
Yeah, I think, look, there's nothing preventing someone now when they get hired. I have personally been at new employee orientations with the supplemental plan. I mean, they'll come in, right before us when we're, encouraging folks to join the union, for example. There's nothing that is preventing folks from opting into the plan right now if they choose and want to. And I want to also just, remind the committee, and I'm sure I don't have to, but employees are already contributing 7% of their income to pension. It's not like we're leaving employees without any retirement options. I mean, I think pensions and, Social Security just have a separate purpose, which is to help encourage, at least a maintenance of a retiree's current cost of living. A 401k does have a slightly different purpose in our society. It's wealth accumulation in retirement. I think from our members' perspective, we are just not at a place financially and present to start thinking about wealth accumulation in our retirement when we are struggling to pay the bills in the present. We want to figure out a way to balance long-term and short-term needs, but the approach that this bill takes, which is to privilege this kind of wealth building in retirement, potentially at the expense, and I hear that there are efforts being made to define the opt-out process. I mean, I take that as a sign that we agree that what's in the bill currently is inadequate, which has been our concern all along. It is going to leave people I mean, you heard it, I think, in, one of the bills you heard earlier today. There are lots of retirement paperwork. People miss things in their first 90 days during that probation. They miss transferring system. I mean, we're just worried that that's going to happen with this bill and that people are going to then, be stuck with deductions that they potentially can't afford. I mean, $25 again may not be a lot of money to, some people, but I think to our members, it's going to be quite a bit.
I appreciate your response. And I just, as my colleague, I was also a former labor union, and I attended for hundreds and hundreds of people their retirement. And the one thing that they all shared in common was, oh my goodness, we wish we had started earlier, right? That was the one thing that every single person that I ever helped to retire and put their finances together always had. So I appreciate you talking to your younger employees, but I don't know if that would hold true for your older employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Gilmore.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that is the conclusion of the hearing on Senate Bill 270. We're going to move to Senate Bill 329 right now. Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I bring up my panel? Good. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the fellow committee members of the Pension Subcommittee. For the record, Senator Michael Jackson, District 27, on behalf of Bill 329. This is a reintroduction of the last couple of sessions. We believe in this piece of legislation. Again, the key and the honor of serving on the Pension Committee is that we take care of our employees. This bill makes a couple of changes. The bill raises the cap of retirement benefit payments from 65% to 70%, and it increases the retirement benefit multiplier from 2% to 2.5%. The bill is a moderate effort to help level the benefit playing field for agencies that take part in the law enforcement officers' pension system with both competing agencies and the private sector. With that, we'd ask for a favorable report, and I will turn it over to my panel.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Jim Krasinski. I am the president of Fraternal Order Police Lodge 34, and we do represent the members of the Maryland Transportation Authority Police. In addition to that, I am an executive board member on the Maryland Fraternal Order Police. Both those groups ask for your support on this bill. My membership consists of almost 600 members in FOP Lodge 34. This bill would help some level of parity with the pension system. Currently, members of LEOPS, when they work 25 years at the 2% multiplier, they get a 50% pension. In the same pension, in the same Maryland system, members of the state police retirement system, when they work 25 years, they're getting closer to 65%. We're all in the Maryland system, and we just simply need to update the LEOPS system to be competitive. Because right now in law enforcement, it is extremely hard to recruit new recruits, and it's extremely hard to retain our veteran officers. This bill will help accomplish both of those goals. Having a ceiling of 70%, which is still less than the state police retirement system, but is much greater than what we currently have in LEOPS, would help to keep our veteran officers around a little longer to help with the vacancy rate that I know that the MDTA police is well over 15% currently, and some forecasts have us going to 20% vacancies in the near future. So with that being said, I ask for your support on Senate Bill 329, and I will be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know former Senator Glassman, you are signed up as written, but you are here in the flesh, so I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you so chose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's good to be back, and it's a pleasure and honor to see a lot of my old friends here. On behalf of the Harford County Deputy Sheriff's Union, we continue to support this effort to update and equalize the LEOPS retirement system for our public deputies. So we fully support the bill. Thank you, Madam Chair. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Senate Bill, I think that we are done with Senate Bill 329. We'll move right on to Senate Bill 331. Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to apologize on record for monopolizing your day on your first day. I just want to, as the chair. So for the record, Senator Michael Jackson on behalf of District 27, Senator from District 27 on behalf of Senate Bill 331. Bill is a piece of legislation that removes the mandatory age retirement of age 60 for the Maryland State Police. The bill will make the corresponding provisions to both the state police retirement system as well as the deferred retirement option program, the DROP system, thus allowing officers added flexibility in attaining the their retirement goals. The bill is fairly straightforward in that it allows the officer to continue service and accruing service time that should meet the requisite and that they must meet the requisite fitness requirements of the agency after they reach the age 60. There's already in place across the board police reform ensure that every agency must refocus on physical and mental acuity for law enforcement officers. So, and the Maryland State Police has been a leader in that regard forever. You heard from the last panel about the recruiting and retention aspect for law enforcement agencies. We believe that this is a tool in the toolbox that will allow that agency to retain the troops that they have as well as to recruit them. They are the only agency that have that age limit, that age restriction within the state system. With that, we ask for a favorable report, and I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Why are they the only one with the mandatory of 60? Is that supposedly linked with the physical requirements of the job, or what do you think?
I believe that was an agency initiative. As a former agency head myself, agencies, typically the requirements for public safety agencies, there's a minimal standard, and then the agencies can ramp it up. Anything dealing with in-service training or any types of trainings, as well as physical fitness that are required to become a member of that agency. So, we stand for questions, and we look forward to your support.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, thank you so much. That will conclude our hearing for this morning. Thank you.